So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome Thaddeus to the stage. Hi, how you doing?
Great. Thank you for having me. Um, it's an honor, and I want to thank the everyone, Trevor, Roger, David, and you, everyone at Harmonica UK for being so organized. It's been seamless. I'm so used to everything going wrong. It's just the way of life. What can I say? But this has been just really a joy. So thank you for having me. It's an amazing lineup of players. It's my honor.
Great.
So
And
hi everyone.
lovely. And you're in Boston, aren't you?
Yeah,
USA.
I'm based in Boston. I'm actually a guitar professor. You can see my guitars back here, a little Jimmy in the back over here. I'm actually a guitar professor at Berklee College of Music in Boston. I've been here for at least a couple of decades, and so
Wow.
I teach guitar. I have taught chromatic harmonica, but I came to guitar from well, I have a couple different instruments, but I came to guitar to chromatic harmonica from guitar. So it was an interesting journey, which I can talk about. Um, I I love this instrument. It allows me to express. Let me turn off that. Allows me to express in the similar way that the guitar does too. So I have when you first asked me for a topic and I decided I was going to do musicality, I was like, okay, my goodness. After a day of thinking about it, I was like, what have I done? I have to talk about musicality. What a huge topic. So I will. I have a little script here, but I will deviate a lot from it based on the vibe. But I figure I might as well just start off by breaking the ice and playing something for you. So if that's okay, I'll give that a shot, and then I'll take it from there. So I have a couple of backing tracks here, and one of the things I've learned is that I do not like playing harmonica with backing tracks.
Uh,
It's
Thaddeus, before we get going, do you want me to run the chat for you? Do you want me to read the questions out as I come in?
Yeah, maybe what we'll do is maybe I can play and talk for a little bit, and as the questions come, maybe let me get going for a bit, and then I'll do questions afterwards. So then that way I can sort of direct you can hear what I'm all about, and then we can go from there.
Okay, and I'll be here throughout your session. So if you want me, just call out my name, and I'll be there running. Okay.
Sounds great,
All
Pete.
right. Break a leg, and have a great session.
So yeah, so why don't I play a tune for you now? I have a few tunes that I can play today, and the band is a YouTube backing track, and I'm gonna play a tune. Let's see here. Technically, I hope everything goes well. And Pete, if the backing track is too loud, just let me know, and I will.
Okay, we'll
Just,
do.
I'll just adjust the volume. So I'm going to do a standard. I usually play R&B and funk, but a lot of the stuff that I practice has to do with getting my ears better. One of the reasons why I practice over standards, specifically jazz standards, is because there's standard things that happen in these tunes that allow me to navigate non-jazz standard tunes. Simple things like 2-5-1 progressions. They happen in jazz standards so often that when they happen in the context of R&B or funk or any of the stuff that I'm playing, it's easy because I already have that in my vocabulary. So the tune I'm going to play it's a ballad, and hopefully the band will go easy on me because they don't stop until I hit the button. So there's a thing called My Romance. Everybody knows this song, you know. I had to stop the band.
Yeah.
Um, woo. Um, Let me put that away. How did that sound, by the way, in terms
Yeah.
of the mix?
Your mic may be a little bit loud, Thaddeus. Just a
The
touch.
microphone for
Yes.
the harmonica?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
It's
All right.
beautiful sound you got.
Thanks a lot. Okay. So that's a little thing called my romance. The Zoom thing. I'm used to getting audience reaction. You can. It's okay to clap. No. I was born in the UK, as Pete mentioned. Yeah. Okay. Good. That's great. Thank you. I was born in the UK, and pivotal harmonica moments. Let me start off. I'd say I was first drawn to the harmonica. I remember in the 60s. I won't tell you how old I am, but I do remember hearing in 67, I do remember hearing I Was Made to Love Her. And I do remember hearing Stevie Wonder play harmonica on that tune. And I remember thinking that I felt things other than the sound of the music. So in other words, it was almost like it was so expressive that it made me feel emotions. I was curious about the harmonica, but then at age 9, I started playing guitar, and I was playing classic guitar for the first maybe 5 or 6 years of my musical journey. Um, and in 79, I heard Send One Your Love by Stevie Wonder. And I remember thinking that I wanted to play harmonica then, but I wanted to play whatever harmonica that Stevie Wonder played, which was the one with the button on the side, because I knew there were lots of notes there from playing diatonic harmonica. I knew there were lots of notes that I couldn't get. And so I went out and bought a harmonica in 79, but I really didn't know what I was doing. I was sort of just messing around with it. And then by then, my guitar career or path had sort of continued. And I learned a little bit about music. I was a Berklee student myself in the 80s, I would say from 84 to 88. And then when I graduated, I started trying to apply a lot of the harmonica, the guitar stuff, to the harmonica. It was, let me see, was it 80? I can't remember the year. But Prince came out with a song called "Thieves in the Temple." I remember hearing harmonica on that, and that was another pivotal moment for me. I was like, "Oh my goodness, Prince is playing harmonica on his stuff." I've been playing harmonica for a little while before that, but I just finally decided that around 19, I think it was 89, around 1990, that's when I officially went, harmonica crazy, and I bought a bunch of chromatics, and I started transcribing Stevie Wonder, and I started at the time I was touring with a band. We were driving all over the country, and I decided that I would practice in the tour van. I used to drive everybody crazy, and so that's when I made most of the progress. The book that I wrote is almost like a documentation of, this is the book, Berklee Harmonica, which it's been out for a couple of years, and it's almost like a documentation of my sort of journey as far as my musical journey on harmonica, and hopefully you can get some stuff from that too. I'll talk a little bit about. I'm rambling a bit, but I'll get focused in a second. I'll talk about some things that I use, or some things that I practice to help me sort of acquaint myself with the music I'm trying to let me put it this way. The study of music, it's about the organization of information for me, and sometimes organizing that in a way that allows me to better hear or better play what I hear, either in my head or in a speaker. And I'll share like some of those exercises and thoughts and ideas, and maybe you might find it inspiring in some way. I talked about musicality in my intro. It's a heavy topic. There are lots of definitions online. The act or the quality of being musical. My definition of musicality is basically trying to make people feel something other than the notes, more than a faithful reproduction of the music and the dynamic markings. The idea is like, from playing this instrument, I want to make you feel something. And if I can do that, I feel like it's a good gig. If I can make you leave, and not leave at the gig, but if I can, when you leave, you say things like, that changed me in some way, or it moved me to tears, or something like that, or even if it made me dance, like that's my goal. And so that's what musicality is to me as a musician. I've done a lot of auditions at Berklee, like, thousands actually at this point. And I've never, after we've auditioned someone, I've never heard, wow, they've got a lot of chops, they're so musical. Never has anything to do with the chops. It always has to do more with this sort of je ne sais quoi, ineffable whatever, that just makes you feel something. And a lot of times I feel like it comes with wisdom, it comes with age, it comes with heartbreak, it comes with just life experience. But there are also some things that you can practice that help you get there. And I'll talk about them. And maybe one of the things I like about the harmonica is that I get to emulate the human voice. I think of it as a set of vocal cords on the other side of this cavity, this head cavity. So a lot of the tone and stuff that's created, to me, is very similar to the vocal tone that I get. There's a song by Stevie Wonder. It's called Kiss Lonely Goodbye. It's on the Pinocchio soundtrack. And there are two versions of that song. One with Stevie singing on it, and one with him playing harmonica. And I remember that, another pivotal moment, thinking, oh my goodness, the tone that he has vocally is really emulated, on his harmonica. Everything from the vibrato to the sustain, the emotion, the melismas, all of that stuff. And so, okay, so, harmonica, human voice, very close. That's why I play this instrument. I just love the expression that I'm able to convey, with this. So harmonica, human voice. Moving on here, my notes, visualizing. I came to the harmonica from guitar. And so I mentioned that I was touring with this band, and I got kind of sick of guitar, so I started practicing things on harmonica. I started getting this vocabulary of things that I could use, and I was hopeful that they would translate to guitar. And then I was a little disappointed to learn that they didn't. It was like, oh my goodness, I have a harmonica brain, and then I have a guitar brain. The harmonica, it's more of an exact thing, like a B flat is a B flat. It's your best friend because you have to draw, you have to use your slide. There's a certain topographical thing that's happening. On guitar, you put your finger down, that's a B flat. You don't really have to work that hard to create the notes. I mean, you do, and you can create an awareness, but this is not the most logical instrument. So harmonica, I found myself thinking more in terms of the exact notes, B flat, E flat, any of the notes that I played, they'd be like my best friends. They were like, let's sit down and have a cup of coffee kind of thing. So the things that I practice to make me more musical are things like this. Visualizing. A lot of times when you see me sitting around spacing out, I'm actually thinking about music, not necessarily about my mortgage or anything like that, though I do think about that. Musicality. Musicality. How well I hear. I feel like when I'm more musical, it's because I am hearing well, and what I'm hearing determines what I play, and the way in which I play it, those three things. So what I'm hearing, how I analyze it, what I play, and the expression with which I play it are the things that help me connect with my audience, So before I get into like the study of music, I just want to put a little bit of a disclaimer out there, like in that however you organize the information that allows you to use it in the context of your performance. It doesn't matter if you use your fingers. If you're a composer, you might organize it in a way that might not allow you to use it right away, but it doesn't matter as long as you can use it. So the things that I'm going to talk about are probably more related to performance, less composition. It doesn't matter. Study of music is the organization of information. So how well I hear. I've done a lot of work with ear training, and when I say ear training, I'm going to take you to a little site that I use a lot. It's called musictheory.net, and this is something I do quite a bit. Pete, am I cool to share the screen?
Yes, you are. Yeah.
All right. Interval ear training. So breaking it down. So what I like about this site is that you can customize the exercise. Like, I really think that it's important to get to the point where you hear an interval and you know exactly what it is. This is a good site because it allows you to customize your intervals. It allows you to do descending intervals. I like this site a lot. I send a lot of my students here to, and then after we do this work, ear training, I often take it to the instrument. That's a great site, by the way, Music Theory. I often take it to the instrument and start practicing intervals. Half steps, whole steps. So the idea is that melodies are made up of intervals, and if you get a real handle, like more like an intuitive handle on the intervals, then you're better able to play melodies. You're better able to copy or play back things or improvise. I feel like my ability to improvise is almost like a barometer of my sort of musicality, so to speak. The better I get at improvising, the better I connect with an audience. I was playing a melody for My Romance just now, and I didn't play the melody the way that it was written. It was written, in quarter notes and eighth notes, and I did a lot of different things to it. So I ended up giving it a lot of my own twist. And the better I get at improvising, then the better I'm able to do those things. And so sort of a command of intervals is just the foundation. So that's something I work on a lot. I send my students to that site a lot. I've seen them go from not being able to hear a half step to within a semester being, really great ear musicians or whatever, playing by ear. Sorry, let me just get rid of this. So that's the foundation. The other thing that I do a lot is, and I'll share this with you, right before this I recorded a bunch of random triads, and I started off with major triads. Let's see if I can do this without falling on my face here. So I have here a recording with random triads. So tell me if you can hear this okay? Good. So all it is just a bunch of random triads, major triads that I recorded shortly before this. And I will try and demonstrate this to you. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to voice lead a single note through all of these triads. So major triads, for those of you who might not know this, all a major triad is 1, 3, and 5 of a major scale. And what I'm going to do is so you don't have to move. If the note that you're on works with the new chord, keep that note. So that's the first stage of the exercise. Record a bunch of random triads, metronome marking like around 60, let's say, 60 beats a minute. Random triads, and your goal is to find one note in the triad moving through. And if the triad might move, it's okay. If you're on 1, you're on 3, the triad moves again, you might be on 5. The idea is that you just find that note, find it by ear, after you do the basic, ear training on musictheory.net or something like that. Next stage of the exercise is to identify what that note is against the triad. So let me try that again. And you don't have to have perfect pitch for this exercise. All right, here we go. Get the idea. All right. Okay. So 3 stages. Again, record the random triads, voice lead a single note, then identify what that note is doing against the chord. Again, for me, musicality is like how well you can connect with the underlying harmony, how well you can react to changes. I know you're never going to play in a band called the Random Triads, but it's a great, ear training exercise. The next phase is using that information. If I know it's 1, 3, or 5, I should be able to improvise. I hope I don't fall on my face, but just let's try this again. And I'm going to take, I'm going to start off with major scales. So I'll play a major scale that goes with, it is a great band name. I'm going to play a major scale that goes with the new chord. All right, let's try that. Okay, here we go. The idea. So the idea there is that, and the thing is that if you're in control of the recording button, which there's so many buttons right here, I feel like I'm losing my my tech mind, but there's so if you have the button, then just put it on pause, and figure out what the scale is. For me, this is one of the greatest exercises that I do. I still do it. I'm much better on guitar than I am with harmonica. But one of the most powerful exercises, because you can start off with major triads, after that, you can just get into whatever chords, minor seven flat fives or anything like that, and you are challenged to play an appropriate scale with the chord that just came up. And remember that sometimes you might hear that chord as an upper structure. It might be a triad by itself, but if it's at the top of a chord, you might hear it as something else, but that's totally okay. So that's one of the things I've worked on a lot. Remember what I said, musicality in general, what I hear, how I analyze. There's a lot of analysis that comes, I feel, for me, when I am in the heat of the moment when I'm playing. If I'm interpreting a melody, a lot of times it's spontaneous. I'm okay with making mistakes, but I will try to bring my my quality or my little twist to the melody by improvising. And a lot of that has to do with how well I'm familiar with the underlying harmony and how well I can play intervals, and sounds that I either hear in my head or that I hear on the speaker or in the bandstand with the other musicians. So that's my challenging ear training. In terms of what I choose to play, most of what I practice happens in the context of tunes. I think it's more fun if you practice standards or standard tunes, and then you get to know all these harmonic devices. Honestly, I think I learned like 10 Stevie Wonder tunes, and then I started playing keyboards. On piano, I learned like 10 Stevie Wonder tunes, and then there's so much that happens in his music that is like, it's so tough. His songs are so great, and the harmony is so rich that it's like a harmony lesson in itself. I used to have a cassette back in the day. Y'all remember cassettes? I used to have a cassette, and the cassette had like one side of Stevie Wonder tunes, harmonica and piano. I just used to practice with it. And at the end of the cassette, I felt like I was ready for any gig. Bring it on, because his stuff is so deep and so harmonically rich. So a lot of what I practice happens in the context of tunes. However, there's some fundamentals that I do recommend. I do recommend learning scales by ear. Everyone here probably knows the major scales, which is the foundation for everything. I don't spend a lot of time practicing the scales and modes of the major diatonic major keys, because I feel like most people play by ear. I play, I don't want to leave some of you behind. So major scales create the harmony of Western music. Most of the music that we've come to know and love is based on sort of the whole system of harmonizing a major scale. I don't spend a lot of time because most people grew up hearing that stuff. So I don't spend a lot of time with that. Some of the things I do spend a lot of time with are the jazz melodic minor scale, which I'll play in a second. I play the chromatic scale. Everyone that's probably one of the first scales you're going to know. So I always recommend also practicing the scales with the same kind of tone that you want to have when you play. So I know that some people might go for a legato sound. Some people might go for a staccato sound when you're practicing scales. When I practice scales, I practice the way I would like to hear my voice. So you can probably hear I do bite into the tone a lot. Switch harmonicas. So I try to practice with the same sort of tone that I would like to hear when I'm actually taking a solo, So chromatic scale, I'll talk more about the chromatic scale in a second, because you can play the chromatic scale over anything. And after a while, you can solo chromatically, but I think it's important to get sort of the fundamentals from the harmonic fundamentals from some of the other scales. I've spent a lot of time with the jazz melodic minor scale. For those of you who think it's above your price range, it's really just play a major scale and flat the third. Flat the third degree. And that scale, played from different degrees, can make you sound so expensive, you know? So that's my first thing. And actually, while I'm at it, why don't I just demonstrate one of the great modes of that scale that I use a lot in R&B. It's the 7th mode. So I might be, okay, mode. All a mode means is this is a major scale or a jazz melodic minor scale. This is a mode of the scale. So we don't play it from the beginning. We play it from a different degree, but you still end up getting the same scale, but you're starting at a different point. So the result is that if you analyze it from the new root, you get a different sequence of half steps and whole steps if it's a half and whole step scale. In this case, the jazz melodic minor is a half and whole step scale. So you get a totally different sequence. And if we analyze it with the new root, we get like these new, really expensive sounds. So if I play a C melodic minor scale, now let's do a, okay, here we go. I'm gonna do this. Here we go. I'm gonna play 2 chords. I'm gonna play a C minor 7, and then I'm gonna play a dominant 7 chord, a perfect 4th below or a 5th above that, a G7. So from C minor 7 to some kind of G7 chord, and I'm gonna make the G7 chord sound a little more expensive by adding tension. So C minor 7. So I'm going to play a G altered chord. It has a flat 9 and a sharp 5 or a flat 13 on it. So over any dominant 7 chord that actually has altered tensions, there is, sorry, one second. There is a trick that you can do that's really easy. You can play a jazz melodic minor starting from the root, a half step above the root of the dominant 7 chord. So in this case, I'm playing C minor 7. Then I'm playing a G, call it G altered. So I can play an A flat melodic minor over this. Listen to how this sounds. It's really cool, it's really cheap, but it makes you sound expensive. So over the C minor 7, you can play whatever you want. Some kind of minor sound, pentatonic scale. G7. All I'm gonna do is play an A flat. Let me back up. A flat major scale and flat the 3rd. So over C minor. You hear how that sounds? Really expensive. It's an easy way to get some really cool sounds. Actually, let me just bring up, I have a backing track here when I do it like this. Jazz melodic minor scales backing track. Here I have a groove that actually goes from a C minor 7 to a G7, and I'm going to take a solo over it, and you can hear the altered scale in action. And this is available on my website, by the way. I have a bunch of these available. Pete, how's the audio? It's okay? So here we go, the C minor 7, some kind of C minor sound. G7, some kind of altered sound. So C minor. Really easy way to sound expensive over simple grooves. So I recommend practicing the jazz melodic minor scale, because the modes of that scale do not, the way a major scale sounds, the modes of the major scale, we take a major scale and we play it like this or we play it like that. The modes, they still sound like a C major scale from the second degree. So yes, you can play D Dorian in the key of C, because that's the second degree. It'll look something like that, you know. But most people can hear that they're still in the key of C. Just play all the notes from C, you know. So the major scale, the modes sound a lot like the parent scale from which they're derived. Not so with the jazz melodic minor scale. It sounds like you're playing really expensive stuff, and it's just not, it's not really that expensive if you just practice it. So how do I recommend practicing the jazz melodic minor scale for those of you who might not have experience with it? Play major scales, flat the third. Don't worry about the degrees or what the tension is when you play it like that. You will learn that. If you're doing your ear training, you'll stop on a note and that will sound like a sharp 11 eventually, you know. So just practice it. You can cycle 5. Those of you who cycle 5 means just, if you look at your circle of fifths, just go to the next key, so you end up doing all of 12 of your keys. So and then you do G, and you just keep going. You know, and so that's one way to handle just getting the jazz melodic minor, because I don't feel like you have to learn that many things to be a good player. I think if you have a handle on your major scales, you have a handle on your pentatonic, you have a handle on your jazz melodic minor scales, a couple other scales, you know, maybe the bebop scale, I'll talk about that in a second. The chromatic scale again, you know. I'm not a big arpeggio player because on this instrument, and I know that there's some amazing players that have been, you've seen, you know, for this for the festival, that are great, you know, all around technical players. You know, for me, I've given in to the instrument. You know, if I want to play arpeggios, I'll play one of the other instruments. This because we can play so many notes from the same hole. 4 notes in a whole. It's a very chromatic sound to me. So I'll talk about the chromatic scale in a second. There's a point in, usually when I'm talking, when my brain runs way ahead of what I'm doing, slow down, you know. So I would say major scales, chromatic scales, jazz melodic minor scales, bebop scales. Again, to simplify it, just think of the bebop scale or the dominant 7 bebop scale as it's a major scale, but you do chromatics. When you get to 6, just play chromatically till you get to the end. So yes, I could say it's a dominant 7 bebop scale with this degree, that degree, that degree, that degree. But just think of it. I get to 6, I'm going to play chromatically after that. So now that's useful. That's useful over... Gosh, how are we doing for time, Pete, by the way?
Yes, we're doing great. We've got about just under 30 minutes.
30 minutes. Okay, cool. Is everybody cool? Am I going too fast? Am I leaving anybody behind?
I think it's really great what you're talking about. And in fact, in the chat, somebody says that minor third trick is great. So that's a positive there.
Yeah, it's a way to think of it, because it's I am really into simplifying things and making them so easy to acquire that you can use them next week on the gig, you know, after you've practiced it, because there's no time for thinking. You know, I mentioned earlier that some of the things I'm going to demonstrate are more geared towards performance. Like, I don't want to have to sit there and analyze, you know, which degree I'm going to play or which tension I'm going to play. The audience has already gone home by the time I've figured out what I want to solo or play. So the things that I do and the things that I teach oftentimes have to do with like just being able to use it tonight. Here's a cool thing you can do. I'll show you some cool things, but let's start off with the bebop scale. Real simple bebop scale. Let's do a C dominant 7 bebop scale. Well, that certainly does sound like the chord, right? So if I want to play a 2-5 in the key of F, and I'll use this 5 chord as a C7, so I'll go this sound. 2-5-1. I'm sorry. Take me home to the tonic. So over my G minor 7, when I get to the C7, and then we're back home. Again, G minor 7. Just play some kind of G minor sound. C7, bebop scale. And we get home. So bebop scale, great for that. I think that's a scale that's also, it's really inexpensive. You just think of a major scale, and then when you get to 6, just play chromatically all the way to the top. It's done really, you know, and you sound really cool. And the reason, do I need to tell you the reason? Okay, the reason is simply it just puts all of the chord tones of the dominant 7 chord on the strong beat. So you got 1, 3, 5, and a flat 7. So bebop scale, good, cheap, good way to get some good sounds. All right, minor pentatonic scale. Oh, here's something really cool you can do with a minor pentatonic scale. Everybody knows what a minor pentatonic scale is. On the chromatic harmonica, it fits in pretty good with the layout. So C minor pentatonic. Most people know it as sort of like almost a blues scale without the flat 5. 5-note scale. Here's a really inexpensive trick that you can do. Anytime you have like a minor chord. Okay, let me sustain this. Here's a C minor 7. Sustained. And I'm not going to play a C minor pentatonic. I'm going to play a G minor pentatonic. So I'm actually playing a pentatonic a fifth above the minor chord. A great way to get a little more expensive sound. And when you do it like that, instead of just getting, normally when you play a pentatonic, you get 1 flat 3 5. I'm sorry, 1 flat 3 11 5 and flat 7. And when you play a fifth below the, I'm sorry, a fourth below the chord, or you play a fifth above the chord, minor chord, you can actually play the minor pentatonic, and you get 9 and 11. So it sounds slightly more expensive, and it's an easy way to do it. If you're just trying to vary your sound a bit, you know, you're tired of playing a C minor pentatonic over a C minor progression, then just play up a fifth. It's an easy thing. If you know your scale, just think of the tonal center of G, and then all of a sudden the notes that you have will have a different meaning against the underlying harmony, and all of a sudden you get this interesting palette. So that's one superimposition. Another one that's really cool is if you have a dominant 7 chord that's unstable. Let's call a dominant 7 that's about ready to take the express elevator to the first floor, from the 5th to the first floor. You know, dominant 7 chord, very unstable, altered. You know, let's do. How about we'll keep the C minor pentatonic. I'm going to do a. I'm going to do an A7, you know, A7 chord with altered tensions. And I'm going to play a C minor pentatonic over this because I can. resolve it to D minor. So again, A7 altered. And then, so I resolved it to D minor just now. So the idea is that when you have a dominant 7 chord that's altered, or, it's one of those that's vibrating, getting ready to go somewhere else, you can actually play a minor pentatonic built on the sharp 9 of that chord. So in other words, think of a minor third from the root of that chord. So on A7, we go up to C minor pentatonic, and we have all kinds of tensions. You can sit down and figure out the tensions if you want, but in the meantime, just go ahead and play the gig, get the Grammy Award. You're good to go. You don't have to. It's a really cheap way to get an expensive sound. Chromaticism. I'll talk really quick about chromaticism. So I have this thing that I do. I call it the chromatic twist. It is in my book, which is available on my website. If you buy it from me, I'll sign it. Not that, that might be an incentive. But I have this thing that I play chromatically because, as you know, the harmonica is a very chromatic instrument. So a chromatic twist, I call it, it's all I'm doing is taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back. So think the opposite of how life is, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And I do it descending a lot of times. So I do. That is like that's like the shortcut of the millennium, I can use that over anything. So after Berklee, I studied with this jazz guru. His name was Charlie Bonakis. And he used to have us do approach patterns in all keys on all chords. And it's like this 12-hour-day thing that it was very difficult for me because I'm, contrary to what people might believe, I'm not very disciplined. And I found a shortcut, and it's called the chromatic twist. And so I use it, but because I have the melodic sort of tonality of a lot of the scales and modes and different colors and altered scales and all that stuff, I can play chromatically, and because I've done a lot of ear training, I can feel in the heat of the moment. It's like the force, I can feel myself. Oh my goodness, I'm going to go to sharp 9 right here, and then oh my goodness, where am I? Yeah, let's hit the 3rd. I'm completely lost, but let's just keep going until we get to the flat 7. Whoa, it's a way to bail myself out of a lot of different situations. So the chromatic twist, I recommend it. It's in my book. The chromatic scale, if you play it in triplets and if you play it in 16th notes, if you play it in triplets, the accented note is a diminished, you end up getting a diminished 7th chord. So you can use that in any application where a diminished 7th chord would be cool. If you play it in 16th notes, you get the accented note is an augmented triad. And then you can use that in situations where you have a dominant 7th chord. Let me see if I can demonstrate that really quickly. C7. 16th note. So again, a chromatic scale, when you practice it, if you practice it in triplets and in 16th notes and accentuate the triplet note, accentuate the 16th note, every 16th note, or a downbeat, a quarter note, you actually get different triads, or in the 7th chord or a triad that you can use in the same applications that you would use that. Talk a little bit about Motivic development. All I'm going to say about that is I have a lab that I teach at Berklee, and I make the students write lyrics for their solos. And the reason for that is really simple. Like, you're trying to create a lyrical solo. Motivic development, all it means is something I'm playing in this measure is related to something I just played. and will be related to something I'm about to play, either melodically, rhythmically, or harmonically, you know? So if you can just hold on to that, it's kind of like using the force, it's okay. Then and work on the other stuff, but at the same time, just hold on to this idea that I'm going to play things in this measure that will be related to the next measure. I don't think I have time to demonstrate that, but keep that. I want to talk about transcribing. I call transcribing the hand of learning music. So I've talked about a few different concepts and stuff like that. And um, if somebody said, Thaddeus, I don't have the time to learn all that stuff, then I would say all you need to do is transcribe. I think practicing those routines and practicing your scales and all that stuff is really great. But if you only have time, like an hour a day, then I would say transcribe. And when I say transcribe, I mean learn other people's songs, learn other people's solos. That's the way a lot of the great jazz cats did back in the day. You know, you talk to a lot of the old school jazz cats and they're like, yeah, I wore out the Charlie Parker record. I learned every lick on it. So, and the reason why I call it the hand of transcription, it's got 5 really solid and clear benefits. First of all, if you read it or you write it down, your reading gets better, you know. Even if you don't, your ears will get better, period, you know, because you're listening, you're trying to copy, you're listening, you're trying to copy. A little stronger digit here, you develop a library of things that you can play and the facility with which to play it. I've done some transcriptions in my life where I've, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to really change my technique in order to be able to learn this solo. So I end up becoming a better player. And then I have a library of things that I can use. Now, do I know how to use them? Well, guess what? Even stronger digit, what you end up developing is a relationship with the underlying harmony. You know, someone plays a chord and you play this amazing lick, you know. You know, and then someone says, why did you play that? And you're like, hey man, I just channeled it. No, you didn't just channel it. You actually made that association with the harmony for a long time. When you were transcribing, you would listen to a dominant 7 with a sharp 9 or a diminished chord, and then you would learn that lick, and then you would listen, and then you would learn. So that those things start locking together. Plus you're doing your ear training, you know, and that helps lock that in too. Basically you got harmony and you got the melody and all the things that you're going to play above it. And sometimes you superimpose like we did with the pentatonic. So it doesn't quite lock in, but it's flying above and it's doing all these cool things. So you develop a relationship with the underlying harmony and an association that allows you to play in an intuitive way. Last but not least, the thumb of transcribing is the musicality in the solo. You know, we talked a little bit about musicality and the solo, motivic development, themes, motifs that come and go. And Bill Evans, as we know, the great jazz piano player, he was just like amazing. He would play this little waterfall, and then he'd play the waterfall up here, then he would play a line and then answer himself and have a conversation with himself, which is the name of one of his albums, by the way. And but really amazing command of creating a solo, the kind of solo that you end up analyzing in a Berklee classroom for a whole semester because it's that good. It's like a piece of classical music. If you transcribe music or learn music by heart that has that musical quality in it, then you just basically assimilate it. The idea is that you're trying to get to the point where this stuff is intuitive. You know, someone plays a chord, you react. So transcription, you know, one of the most. I know we have sort of limited time, but I'm gonna just power through this last little section that I wanted to do, and maybe I have time to play another tune, which I thought I was gonna play more. It's amazing how quickly time goes. Tone. So I talked about musicality and the way that I feel like I connect with my audience having to do with how well I analyze the topography of the harmony and the melodies and stuff I'm playing, and then what I play, which has to do with the vocabulary of things that I just showed you, and then my tone, how I express it. Like I said, I play this instrument because I can bite into the tone. It's like a guitar. I can bend. I play this instrument because I wanted to sound like Stevie Wonder. And when you hear Stevie Wonder play a note, it's like it's scooped. It's like this beautiful thing, and then it does this thing, and then there's this resonant, and then there's a vibrato at the end of it. It just makes you just feel so you know, amazing, you know, and so it changes the way I feel. I remember listening to Isn't She Lovely back in 1976 and thinking, wow, everything I look at looks beautiful, because that's the kind of effect that I had. So now I talk a little bit about tone. I think tone has to do, for one, I don't play lipping. I know some people do lipping. For those of you who might not know what the embouchures for harmonica are, some people play lipping, which is just basically whistling and then putting your lips up against the harmonica. You know, that's not my preferred style of engaging with the harmonica. The way I do tongue block, I know some people are usually surprised to hear it, but the reason why I tongue block is because I can get more of the harmonica in my mouth. As opposed to, you know, for me, part of getting the tone of the harmonica is how far I can put it in my, so that it resonates with the cavities and the mouth cavity and all that stuff, so I can get more of the sound, the guitar sound box. You know, this is my sound box. The choice of instrument, yes, I play boppers. I don't know if you, those of you who know Hohner harmonicas, this is a hard bopper. It's the Toots Thielmann's signature model, and I play this one because it allows me to play. First of all, I'm a traditionalist. You know, I love the sound of the harmonica from the early Stevie albums, and these were more of the traditional. I do have an Ace. I did own an Amadeus. I've owned CX12s and all these instruments, and I was never ever really able to get that open, breathy sound. So I chose the boppers because they sound to me more traditional. And in addition, I realized today as I was playing, I was using a lot of air, and I find that these boppers allow me to blow harder. If I was playing a 270 or any of the others, reeds would choke all the time, because in the heat of the moment, when I'm in front of an audience and I'm like, I really get into it and I bite into the sound. And I've already like choked a reed or two on a couple of these. But when you get excited, you know, I end up using more air than I would if I'm just sitting here relaxing, playing stuff. So hard boppers, you know, for me. Ornaments, I think this instrument lends itself well to ornaments, as you know. It's all like sort of like slide stuff. That stuff, I think I practiced the major scale, and I tried to do ornaments on every note. You know, and if I do that, then all of a sudden when I'm playing just a simple melody, like, you know, then I'm able to get more of the trills and the flips and the mordants and upper mordants and lower mordants, glissandos, that kind of stuff. Again, practice your tunes. I did with the kind of your routine practice tunes, scales, modes, anything, but the kind of tone that you want to hear. In terms of how I practice, I did most of my practicing in my car. If I was waiting for someone and they were late, I'd be like, okay, let me run some scales. I'm not going to say I practiced while I was driving. Nope, I didn't do any of that. But hey, when I would pull over at a rest stop or something like that, you know, I would whip out my harmonica, and I would always, in line at the bank. Yeah, everybody loves you, you know, like, oh my goodness, this line is moving so slowly. Let me play my harmonica. All of a sudden, people love you, and everybody's happy and everybody's smiling. So I think that even though it sounds humorous, that way of practicing, where you practice for a little bit of time, then you go do something else, you come back, you practice for a little bit of time, do something else, you practice. By the end of a day, you feel like you've practiced that piece of music for a month, because you've gone back to it. You're practicing recall, which is really, when you're performing, that's really what you want to practice. You want to be able to do these things in the heat of the moment. You don't want to say, okay, give me 2 hours to warm up, then we'll get to the good part of the song. You want to be able to deliver it from nothingness. Oh my goodness, I just got up on stage and now I have to play. And I find that way of practicing, 15 minutes here at lunch, before the Tonight Show, before, you know, whatever, lunch, before your breakfast, just squeeze in a little bit of practicing every now and again. learn melodies. I feel like I want to play another tune. Is it okay, Pete?
Thaddeus, we've got about 5 minutes left.
Do I have enough time to play a little piece of a tune?
Yes, please. We'd love you to play us out. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, all right, let's do this. I hope you got some good stuff from this. Please keep in touch. Go to my website. There's some tracks there that I did just for this. If you plug in the code Harmonica UK, you can get like a 25% discount on the jam backing tracks and the harmonica tracks. There's a song called Gratitude that I did that I thought I was going to get to and play today, but I didn't. But maybe I will play that. I'll just play a little piece of that. This is an original tune, Gratitude. 3 tudes, Gratitude. So this is a thing featuring Zach Rochester on bass, Paul Marcantonio on drums, and I am playing all the other instruments. Here we go again. Band, start again. Stop, band, stop. Okay, let's go back here. Here we go. Okay, thank you. I had to stop the band at the same time, so Pete,
Yes.
good.
Thaddeus, that was amazing. Do you know, this has been such a dynamic workshop. It's unbelievable. And we haven't really got questions. We've got loads of complimentary stuff there. So Peter Golding, who's a really fine harmonica player, he says, a total powerhouse. My brain lights lit up. Much appreciated.
Really? Oh,
Harmonic UK, you rocks, he says. Also, this is from Peter. He's saying, thanks so much. Great session. Like the focus on audience and thinking about all the scale connections and relationships will keep the old brain young. I'm inspired. How about that? Yeah, it's been
oh, wonderful. Thank you. I felt like at times I was rambling and trying to just get so much stuff, but I had a good time. I thought I would play a little bit more, but I feel like I got everything that I sort of wanted to mention at least across. The idea is that try and be musical. Go out there and play some things that that make people feel good about life and the planet. Make the world a better place with your music.
Yeah, great. And Cecilia Hogarth has said that the code is Harmonica UK. Is that right for the discount?
Yes, that's my sister. She manages the website. So if you go on there and order I think the code is for the harmonica tracks and the book, or I don't think it's for the book. That's a Hal Leonard thing. But the harmonica tracks and the jam tracks, I think you can get a discount. You know.
Okay.
So
Well, Adam Glasser, our patron, was right about you. So I'm so glad we managed to get you to our festival. It's been really an amazing session.
it's been an honor. I remember when Roger reached out to me. I was like, Roger, you got all these great harmonica players, and you got me. Are you sure you got the right person? And then he gave me one of the best compliments I ever got, which was he said, "Well, to be honest with you, we did try to get Stevie Wonder. We couldn't get him, so we got you. So thank you very much. And you guys are so organized. I expected things to go wrong, but it's just been unbelievable. So." Thanks to everybody, Trevor, Roger, David, and you, Pete. So, and it's a homecoming of sorts because I was born in England. So I hope maybe next year I'll take a little trip across the pond there and come and do it live.
Come to our festival. Yeah, that'd be amazing.
It'd be an honor.
Can we just show a show of hands for Thaddeus, please? What an amazing session that's been. Absolutely dynamic. There we are.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Now, Thaddeus, are you able to go to the green room?
Yeah. So I guess so. I'm gonna go to the green room. I just go down here to the breakout room and choose green room, right?
I think Trevor will join you because I'm just going to wrap up here.
Everything is different in my dreams. Life becomes as good as it can be.